What's happening, everybody? I'm Todd Tanner. Welcome to Wrestling News Now. Before I get started on today, let me tell you what this network is all about, Wrestling News. Oftentimes, when individuals think about their favorite sports entertainer or professional wrestler, they know relatively nothing about who they are or where they've come from. This is where I come in at. I take the time to do the research and the background information so that you have more of an understanding of the person and the personality of the individual we all have come to know and admire. So this is what you can expect with Wrestling News Now. And if you're new to this channel, would you kindly take out a few moments and view the content, and if you like it, hit the like button and also subscribe to this channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And let's get down to business. Today, I want to talk about one of the phenomenal and greatest athletes of all time to ever have graced the squared circle, Mr. USA Tony Atlas. But individuals know relatively very little about him. Where did he come from? Who is he? How did he get started? Well, let's get right down to it. Anthony White, who was born on the 23rd of April, 1954, better known by his ring name, Tony Atlas, is an American bodybuilder, powerlifter, and professional wrestler who has held multiple titles and championships in each sport. He is also known by his bodybuilding title, Mr. USA, a distinction he earned 3 times. Wow. The nom de jure, the Black Superman, as well as an alter ego named Saba Simba. He returned as an on-screen manager for WWE, appearing on its now-defunct ECW brand. He re-signed with WWE in a Legends deal in mid-2012. So let's look into the background of Mr. USA, Tony Atlas. How did he begin his professional wrestling career? Well, let's go down to the year 1974. Atlas, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas, started wrestling in 1974 for the National Wrestling Alliance. Worldwide Mid-Atlanta area, his debut on July 10th was a tag team match with Bob Brookers against Art Nielsen and the Blue Scorpion. The match finished with Atlas winning the fall for his team with a sleeper hold on the Blue Scorpion. Throughout his career, he worked for World Championship Wrestling, known as WCW, the National Wrestling Alliance, which was Jim Crockett's promotions, the World Wrestling Council, World Class Championship Wrestling, the American Wrestling Association, and the World Wrestling Federation. Among his regular partners were Tommy Rich as TNT, Dick Murdoch, and Rocky Johnson. He was also the very first man to press, slam, and pin Hulk Hogan, though Hogan's foot was on the rope and the referee did not see it. Well, we all know how that goes. A win is a win. During his time with the NWA, Atlas captured the NWA Georgia Tag Team title with Tommy Rich. He later teamed with Mr. Wrestling 2, Thunderbolt Patterson, Kevin Sullivan, and Rocky Johnson. In 1982, he wrestled for New Japan Pro Wrestling. From 1982 until 1983, he wrestled for Bill Watts' Universal Wrestling Federation. Then from 1983 to 1984, he returned to Georgia and wrestled in St. Louis. During the year 1979 to 1984, Atlas debuted in the World Wrestling Federation on October 23, 1978, defeating Johnny Rodz at a championship wrestling taping. One of his first feuds with Jesse the Body Ventura over who had the better physique. In 1983, he teamed with Rocky Johnson as the Soul Patrol to defeat the Wild Samoans for the then WWF World Tag Team Championship, becoming the company's first black champions. After losing the title to Adrian Adonis and Dick Murdoch and missing shows due to drug addiction, Atlas' final match was on May 16, 1984 in Lacey Township, New Jersey. And I'm happy to say that Tony Atlas is clean and free and one healthy individual. He made his debut, so 10 months later, after departing the World Wrestling Federation, Atlas resurfaced in Vern Gagne's AWA, or the American Wrestling Association. He made his debut on July 13 at a house show in Denver, Colorado, and defeated Chris Markoff. At the time, the AWA was being rated for talent by the WWF. This represented a swing in the opposite direction, and Atlas received a push upon joining the promotion. He was undefeated against Mr. Electricity, Steve Rico, Larry Sabisco, and Jake Mulligan in July, before finally being defeated by King Kong Bundy on August the 11th in Indianapolis, Indiana. This and a disqualification loss to Nick Bockwinkel were Atlas's only defeats in singles competition. On October 10th, 1984, he teamed with the Crusher and faced AWA Tag Team Champions, the Road Warriors, for a shot at the titles and won by disqualification. 10 days later, he teamed with Jim Brazil for another shot at the Road Warriors, but this time was defeated. His final match with the promotion was a victory against Tom Scott on October 28th, after which he returned to the World Wrestling Federation, now known as World Wrestling Entertainment, or WWE. One day after departing the AWA, Atlas returned to the WWF at a TV taping for All-Star Wrestling in Hamilton, Ontario, and pinned Renee Goulet in a match that aired on November 17th. Upon his return, Atlas was shunted to the mid-card in the WWF and was undefeated against competition that included Mr. Fuji, the Spoiler, the Iron Sheik, and Moon Dog Rex. He scored a win against Bob Orton and an untitled victory over WWF Intercontinental Champion Greg Valentine at the Steel Cage Turmoil Round Robin Tournament in Hartford, Connecticut on November 23rd. In 1984, a predecessor to the King of the Ring tournaments that were held later in the decade as annual house show events, but suffered his first defeat on his comeback when he lost to David Schultz. This would be his only loss for several months, as he would not be pinned again until losing to Paul Orndorff on Primetime Wrestling on March 19, 1985. At this point, Atlas began to transition to a mid-card performer and would lose several matches, including bouts with Bret Hart, Greg Valentine, Don Morocco, and Roddy Rowdy Piper. The company also programmed him into several short-lived tag teams with Ivan Putski, Lanny Poffo, and George Wells. Atlas made his pay-per-view debut in 1986 when he appeared in the Battle Royale at WrestleMania 2, being eliminated by William Perry. He was also used as a jobber to the stars, putting over newly arriving talent like King Kong Bundy and Harley Race, as well as a series of matches with other muscle-bound strongmen such as Hercules and the world's strongest man, Ted Arcidi, the latter of which in an infamous match at Boston Garden, where both men were booed by the crowd and mocked by commentators Gorilla Monsoon and Lord Alfred Hayes for their poor performances. Atlas began to be shunted further down this card, losing to Big John Studd, Iron Sheik, Dory Funk Jr., and Harley Race. His final match was a loss to Adrian Adonis in a bout that took place in Madison Square Garden and which aired on September 8, 1986 on Primetime Wrestling. Tony Atlas, Mr. USA, made a one-match return on August 28, 1987, when he teamed with the Junkyard Dog to defeat Kamala and Sika at the WWF Paul Bosch retirement show. 2 months later, Atlas joined the Texas-based World Class Championship Wrestling, where he adopted the moniker of the Black Superman. He made his initial appearance on November 11, 1986, and defeated Tim Brooks in Fort Worth, Texas on December 1. Atlas defeated Crusher Yurkov to win the World Class Championship television title in January 1987. Atlas competed in a tournament to crown the Texas heavyweight champion, beating Tim Brooks in the opening round by falling to Matt Bourne in the quarterfinals. In the summer of 1987, he had almost instant success when he teamed with Skip Young to win the world-class tag team title following a match that went to a time limit draw against Al Perez. Atlas left the company in 1988. On July 16, 1988, Atlas was appearing at a WWC event in Bayaman, a city near San Juan, Puerto Rico, where he was one of the two witnesses, the other being Dutch Mantel, to the final assault on wrestler Bruno Brozzi. Jose Hurites Gonzalez, aka the Invader, a fellow wrestler and booker, asked Brody to go to the shower to discuss business. Brody entered the shower stall, and a few seconds later, a scuffle ensued, followed by two groans, loud enough for the entire locker room to hear. Atlas ran to the shower and saw Brody bent over and holding his stomach. Mantel came after him. Atlas and Mantel then looked up at Gonzalez and saw him holding the knife. When the paramedics arrived, Atlas carried Bruno Brozzi downstairs, to the waiting ambulance, as due to Brody's enormous stature, paramedics were unable to lift him. Gonzalez, who always maintained his innocence, was initially charged with first-degree murder, but was later reduced and tried for involuntary homicide. Both Atlas and Mantel appeared in 2019's Dark Side of the Ring episode on Bruiser Brody and explained what actually happened. Check out that for yourself. It's The Dark Side of Wrestling. I've watched it many times. Atlas said that he was asked to be in the trial but never got a call back because the case was already finished. Atlas then moved on to Southern Ontario area in late 1988. He joined International Championship Wrestling, owned and operated by Mario Savoldi, where he turned heel under the management of the Duke. Won the ICW heavyweight title from Joe Savoldi. Atlas lost the belt to Vic Steamboat in Middletown, New York, but after a few months he regained the belt from Steamboat. That match became infamous because of the number of times it was shown on the IWCCW syndicated show. Afterwards, he was inactive from wrestling due to being homeless for a year and a half. You know, there is so much information about Mr. USA Tony Atlas. We're going to have to make this a two-part video. So stay tuned. What? You want me to continue reading? All right, I'll read a little more, and then we're going to round it up for today. In 1990, Atlas returned to the WWF, where he wrestled as Simba Saba for the remainder of 1990 and into January 1991. He made his first appearance in his comeback on August 4th, 1990, when he pinned Haku at a house show in Augusta, Georgia. On August 28th, he participated in a TV taping for WWF Superstars and Primetime Wrestling. In his first televised appearance as Simba, Atlas's history in the company was quickly acknowledged, but Vince McMahon claimed Atlas had rediscovered his roots by legally changing his name. On December 13, 2010, Tony appeared on Right After Wrestling and credited the Simba Samba character with saving his life as he was homeless and living on a park bench before getting a phone call from Mr. McMahon. He played a warrior of a Ugandan tribe and was intended to feud with Hakeem, but the feud never took place after Hakeem departed from the promotion. Atlas was kept at mid-card status, losing to Dino Bravo and the Barbarian. The gimmick has been described as one writer as unpopular at best and racist at worst. I agree. He participated in the 1991 Royal Rumble, where he was eliminated by Rick Montel. After the Royal Rumble, he was taken off TV and was inactive with the company. His last match was on September 13, 1991, at a house show in Allentown, Pennsylvania, losing to Irwin R. Shyster as Simba Saba. Well, we'll continue this in another video. So thank you for checking out Wrestling News Now. I'm Todd Tanner. Peace.